Hello friends, welcome to our channel Audio Powerhouse, where we give you the knowledge of books in a simple and interesting way. Today we have brought for you a story of a book that has changed the thoughts and lives of millions of people. We are talking about Robert Kiyosaki's bestseller book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book gives you a chance to understand the concept of money, financial education, and the mentality of becoming rich in depth. There are two dad stories in this book. One is the rich dad, and the other is the poor dad. The main message of this book is how the thoughts and decisions of both affect their financial situation. In this video, we are going to explain to you the 6 lessons of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the most important principles and inspiring stories in simple Hindi words. If you want to make your financial life better, then this video will work as a guide for you. In this, you will know how money can work for you, what is the difference between wealth and debt, why financial education is more important than the syllabus of your school, and how rich people become rich by their thoughts. If you like the video, then like and share it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because our goal is to give you the knowledge that can give a new direction to your life. Let's start this wonderful journey without delay and know what this great book by Robert Kiyosaki has taught us. Robert Kiyosaki, who is the author of this book, had 2 fathers. One of his fathers was an educated and PhD holder, but he lived in poverty all his life and died in poverty. That's why Robert called him Poor Dad. At the same time, his other father was not very educated, but he was very rich. That's why Robert called him Rich Dad. So now the question is, how can a person have 2 fathers at the same time? So the answer to this is that his poor father, i.e. his real father, had only one dream, that after studying hard, Robert should work in a big company and secure his future. But Robert's other father, who was rich, was actually Robert's friend, Mike's father, and he wanted Robert to take on some challenges in his life, because not all lessons are learned in school. Some lessons are such that if a person learns from his life experience, then school education can only give you good grades, but life education teaches a lot. Of course, education is important, but not everything can be achieved just by sitting on it. So let's know exactly what we have to do and how to do it. For that, the first lesson says that rich people do not work for money. It's a little strange to hear, but this story will help you a lot to understand this line. So there was a man who had a donkey. Whenever he had to get some work done from his donkey, he would hang a carrot in front of him. As soon as he saw that carrot, the donkey would work in greed to eat it. He was very hopeful that one day he would reach that carrot. Now for that man, a good special method has become to get work done. But the poor donkey never got that carrot. Now ask why? Because that carrot is just a trick. Many people are just like that donkey. They go for hard work, hoping that one day they will become rich. But money is just a dream for them. Running after this dream, you can never reach it. So instead of working for money, let money work for you. When you want to become rich, don't just work to earn money. Because the way we take the step to become rich, our fear and greed overpower us, that we may become poor. Just with this fear, we get more involved in hard work. Then our greed overpowers us. We start imagining all those beautiful things that can be achieved with money. Now, this fear and greed gets us involved in such a cycle, which never ends. So now we work harder to earn more, and then our expenses also start increasing accordingly. This is called the rich dad right race. Now, the result of this is that we work extremely hard to earn money. We spend. And this is a trap. This is a trap. And you have to avoid this trap of greed and fear. Because most of us who want to become rich fall prey to this trap. So don't run after money. Instead, force money to run after you. If you have a job, don't go to work thinking that you have to take a paycheck every month, because that paycheck can hardly pay all your bills. By the way, this becomes the story of every month. Then you get tired and look for another job and start working harder. But still you are working for money. And this is the reason why you never become rich. Face the truth. Your answer is for yourself, not for others. Ask yourself all your questions, because the answer is only with you. Are you only working so that you have security in your life? A job from where you have no fear of being fired? Or you only work to earn money and you feel that one day you will become rich in this way? Is this enough to satisfy you? If your answer is yes, then I am very sorry for your thinking. Because the dream of becoming rich you have seen, that will never come true. You will always live in poverty. But if your answer is no, then your first step will be that, first of all, you remove the fear from your mind. Because the fear of not being able to earn more money and greed forces you to work without thinking. And this step of ours pushes us towards failure. Undoubtedly, we all have a feeling of fear and desire, and this is natural. But don't let it overpower you so much that we are in their control and start taking the opposite, straight decisions. It would be better that whatever we do, first think a lot about it. Not always from the heart, but work with the mind. Ask yourself every morning that are you able to do as much as you should? Are you able to make full use of your potential? Stop thinking like ordinary people who work only for money. Stop thinking that my boss pays less. I should get more. I can't earn more than this. Remember one thing, only you are responsible for your problems, no one else. If your boss is not increasing your salary, then don't blame him. When you take responsibility for your own problems, only you can find a solution. And this is the first lesson and the first principle that Amir Dad taught Robert. One part of this lesson was that Amir Dad put him to work in a convenience store. He didn't get any money for this work. He just kept working. And the benefit of this was that he kept working from his heart. And during this time, many new ideas kept coming to his mind. He got many thoughts about how to chase money. He saw that the clerk of that store used to tear the front page of the comic book into two parts. She used to keep half part and throw away the other half. In the evening, a distributor used to come to the store. He used to take the upper half of the comic book for credit, but in return, he used to give new comic books. One day, he asked the distributor if he could take the old comic books. He agreed on the condition that he would not sell those comics. This was a new idea of business. He started reading those old comic books on rent for his friends and other children. In return, he used to collect 10 cents of rent for each book. Each book used to be given for reading for only 2 hours. So he was not selling them. He didn't even have to work at the garage from where he used to give the comics on rent. He hired Mike's sister, for whom he was given. And this is how he learned to let money work for itself and not to work for money. So this is where we are now. The second lesson, which explains why financial literacy should be taught, means that in 1923, that is, in 1923, there was a meeting in Edgewater Beach Hotel, Chicago. Many world leaders and rich businessmen took part in this meeting. One of them was the owner of this hotel, Charles Schwab and Samuel Insull, who was the largest utility president at that time, and many other big businessmen died of poverty after 25 years of this meeting. Some committed suicide, and many others even lost their mental balance. So the real thing is that people get so busy that they forget how to manage their money. And if you learn this skill, then you can easily face any difficult situation, which is often said to be an emergency or a dead end or a bad time. Or it is possible that if you plan properly, bad times will never come. By the way, people who win millions in lottery live happily for a few years. But when they return to the same old situation, most people wonder how to become rich or what to do to become rich. Most people are disappointed, but the right answer will be to learn how to become a financial literate first. Look, if you want to build an Empire State Building, then first of all, you have to dig a deep pit. Then you will have to dig a 6-inch concrete slab to build a small house. But unfortunately, most of us want to build an Empire State Building on a 6-inch slab. And even if they do, it is obvious that the building will break. Robert's poor dad just wanted him to study well, but his rich dad wanted him to become financially literate. Most school systems just teach you to build a house. Not a strong foundation is the importance of school education and studies. But this is not all in real life. And with this comes the third lesson, which says that to understand the difference between liabilities and assets, rich and middle class people consider liabilities as assets, i.e. their property. But the rich knows what assets really are, and he buys them there, which means KISS, means keep it simple, stupid. He taught the simple lesson to the writer and his friend Mike, because of which he was able to survive. The simple thing is to understand between liabilities and assets and buy assets. But if it is so simple, then everyone is rich. But here, the situation is the opposite. It is actually so simple that not everyone thinks about it. People think not about financial literacy, but that the income statement should be taken as a statement of profit and loss. The simple meaning of this is how much money did you get and how much money did you spend? The balance sheet shows the balance between assets and liabilities. Many educated accountants do not know that there are things that work to earn money for you. Suppose you buy a house and rent it, then you can pay the loan you took to buy the house. Now the house is yours, and the rent you get from it is yours. So the liabilities of the rich people is because they believe in this double S, keep it simple, stupid principle. On the other hand, the poor people do not understand this principle properly. That is why it is being emphasized to become a financial literate and not just a literate. There's a difference when you write your own story. In most families, the hard worker has more money, but what is the benefit? When all the money is spent on liabilities, then let's understand how a middle-class man spends his money. If he lives like a middle class, then he will be a middle class for the rest of his life. Or maybe even worse, because you can see that all his money is being spent on liabilities like mortgages, rent, car loan, house loan, credit card bill fees, electricity bill, and many more. They also earn money and get a salary, but all their money is spent on daily expenses. Let's assume that a poor man earns $1,000, out of which $300 he spends on the rent of his small house. $200 is his rent, $200 is his tax, and $300 is his food and clothes. So what does he have left? Nothing. And sometimes he has to get even poorer. On the contrary, rich people buy assets, and then their assets earn more money for them. Their income is like this 2 to 4, 4 to 8. Most rich people use their brains and take their house on loan and put it on rent. Without hard work, they get rent every month from which they also pay their loan. Let's take it this way. Assume that the installment of the loan is $1, so he will collect $2 of his house and give $1 to the bank. $1 is in his pocket, and he earns money without hard work. So actually, there is a gap between a rich dad and a poor dad. How to spend your money. This is the only issue and nothing else. In the days of 1967, if children were asked what they would become when they grew up, everyone had the same answer, that they would get good grades and become a doctor, an engineer. At that time, everyone thought that they would earn a lot of money. However, Many of them have now become doctors. Despite this, many of them. But this is not the case today. Today, many children want to become a famous athlete, or a CEO, or a movie star, or a rock star, because they know that they cannot succeed by relying only on good education and good grades. Nowadays, the financial nightmare has become very common. Often, newly married couples think that their salary will increase, so they start saving money. Because of this, all their attention is on making their career. As their income increases, obviously expenses will also increase accordingly. So the point is that when you make money without being financially literate or without thinking, you spend it. You spend more than before. This is a cycle. Newly married couples have now earned so much money that they can buy a big house. They will feel that they have become a little rich now. But the truth is that they have also bought new liabilities with the big house. In their cash flow, the expense of property tax has increased. Now they need a new car, furniture, everything new. Their liabilities are increasing, and most of the time they are not able to afford it. Then, one day, the truth is revealed. But until then, we are badly trapped in this rat race. Then such people come to our writer Robert and ask how to become rich. Now, this question is the root of the problem because everyone thinks that money is the cure for everything. It is a big mistake to believe this. Their problem is not how to handle money. There is a saying that applies here. When you yourself stop digging your feet in a deep pit, because most people are afraid of public speaking. Psychiatrists believe that people are afraid because they are afraid of rejection, afraid of being different from others. People do not think what they like and what everyone else is doing. Such people make themselves a part of the crowd and become satisfied. Your house is your biggest asset. Take a loan. Hey, now there is a promotion. Now the salary has increased, so buy a new house. These are the things we are hearing from people. And then we also walk on the same path because what everyone says is not true. Amir Dad used to say that Japanese people knew the power of three things: sword, valuables, and mirror. The sword is the symbol of the strength of the arms. The valuables are the power of money, and the mirror shows the hidden power, and that is our biggest power. When you know yourself in front of the mirror, you should be a part of the mirror. So whatever answer you get, that is your real strength. So the poor and middle class let themselves be slaves of money. That's why they can never become rich. 16-year-old Robert and Mike used to go to every meeting with Amir Dad, which they kept with their accountant managers, investors, and employees. Here you get to see such rich dads who are not educated and who left school. But today they can go to meetings and give orders to educated people who work below them. They give them business tips. A person who did not become a part of the crowd, who took risks and who did not care about people and who was not afraid of what people would think about him. The result of these meetings was that the writer and his friend could not concentrate, and they had to do according to the rules. So they realized how school education does not let the talent of children flourish. It suppresses it. By killing their creativity, it puts them in a mold and makes them a machine part of this society. And they were also against the fact that only by getting good grades can one become successful and rich. Robert's father believed that his house was the best investment for him, but he was running in a red race. His income and expenses were equal. He did not even have a moment to complete them. This is what Robert wanted to make him understand, that for his father, that house is not an asset, but a liability. He was spending money between his poor and rich father. Anyway, their argument continued. He told his poor father that most people spend their lives paying loans. The house they buy, they pay a loan for 30 years. Then they buy another big house and renew their loan. Now the price of the house is on their head. The biggest loss for people is that they cannot invest because all their money is invested in that house. They never get a chance to invest, and neither can they learn anything about it. And in the same way, they lose many assets. If people pay attention only to assets, their future will be ruined. They had to think that buying a big and new house is the right decision because, like others, they also thought buying a house was an asset. If they were surprised to know that the property tax was $1,000, it was a very big price for them. And because they were retired, paying so much money as tax was out of their retirement budget. Of course, we are not saying that you should not buy a new house, but we want to explain that the more money you take from a big house, the more money you invest in an asset. Your asset will earn for you, and after some time, you will have so much money that you will be able to buy a house easily without any loan. So now the question is, why do rich people and more rich people continue to be rich, and middle class can't move forward? There is a reason, and the reason is very simple. Rich people buy assets which double their money. With that money, they manage their expenses. And what does middle class do? They just wait for a month's date. When their salary comes, they spend, and then they go for the ride. The meaning of saying this is that the society where we live is drowning in debt. It means that considering our home as an asset is the reason that pushes us under the burden of debt. Today, this is the thought of most people. If the salary has increased, then people think that now they can buy a big house because they think it is the right use of their money. In return, if that money is invested in the right place, then their life can change forever. But this is not possible because all their time is spent in hard work. They cannot think of their job as a safe zone, and on top of that, they are so burdened with debt that they cannot take the risk of leaving the job. Now ask yourself, if you leave your job today, how many days will you be able to live? Because if you are not financially literate, if you have spent all your life only on salary, and you have earned liabilities in return for assets, then surely your life is a very tough challenge. Your work cannot run only on net worth. Net worth tells you how much money you really have, even if it is in the form of an old car lying in the garage. Now, even if that car is of no use, while wealth means how much more money you are earning from the money you have. For example, suppose you have an asset which makes me earn $3,000 every month, and you spend $6,000 every month, then I will only be able to survive for half a month. So the solution would be to increase the money you get from your assets. When you start getting that $6,000, you will not become rich overnight, but you will start becoming wealthy. Now, even if you suddenly leave your job, then your assets will cover all your expenses. Now, you will only be able to become wealthy when your expenses are less than the growth of your assets. And this is followed by the fourth lesson, which says to keep your work to yourself. The world's largest food chain, the founder of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, had a speech in an MBA class. This is 1947. His speech was very magnificent. After the inspiring speech, when the students of the MBA class asked him to spend some time with them, he went to have a beer with them. Ray suddenly asked a question. Do you know what business I am in? Now everyone knew that he used to sell hamburgers. He started laughing at this and said that his real business is real estate, because for McDonald's, every location is chosen after careful consideration. Where its franchise is made, that land is also sold along with it. So it means that the person who bought the franchise of McDonald's had to buy that land as well. So in this way, it became a real estate business. This is the lesson Amir then taught Robert. Often people leave for themselves and work for everyone else. They work for the government by paying taxes. They work for the company. They work for the company by paying the mortgage of the bank. And all this is because our education system is like this. School teaches us to be an employee, not a key employer. You become what you study. If you have studied science, then you are a doctor. If you have studied mathematics, then you an engineer. It means that whatever you have studied, you should become. Now, the problem is that this does not benefit the students because they get entangled in the difference between a job and a business. When someone asks you what your business is, you should not say that I am a doctor or a banker because it is your profession, not business. It means that whatever you do, make it your business, not a job. Do not waste your whole life working for others and making them rich. Instead, work to make your life happy. Many people realize this for a long time that their house loan is taking their life. And then they feel that the asset they were making the mistake of accepting was actually never that asset. Like when they bought a car, all the expenses related to it became their liabilities, then the troubles begin. That is why we are putting so much pressure on the asset column, that your income column, and this is the right way to be financially secure. The right way to know how rich you are is not net worth, because whenever you sell your assets, they also get taxed. You do not get as much money as you think. You will have to pay tax on whatever money you get according to your balance sheet. This book will never advise you to keep your job. You keep doing your job and keep buying assets. And by assets, I mean assets in the true sense. I will not tell you to buy a card because, in my opinion, it is not an asset. Because as soon as you start using it, it loses 25% of its value. Now, what kind of assets should be bought? Here we give you some examples. A business where your presence is not necessary, that others run for you because if you spend a lot of time there, it is not a business. You will have a job. Secondly, invest on real estate. Third, buy stocks and bonds. So when you buy an asset, invest on the things you like because you will be able to focus on it only when you like it. If you are interested in it, you will be able to understand it better. Robert was interested in real estate and strokes, especially investing in small companies. He never left his job on the advice of his rich dad. He kept doing his job and kept making his asset column big and strong. Do not let the money you earn go to waste. Consider your money as your slave who will work for you. You want to buy luxury? Buy it with interest. It's not a big deal, but do not forget that this is the difference between the rich and the middle class, where the middle class will spend money in luxury first, the rich man will buy it in the end. And after understanding this much, in the next lesson, you will learn about the biggest secret of rich people. So the fifth lesson says that the rich invent money. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone and then patented it. His business grew and it became difficult to manage, so he went to the Western Union and offered to sell his patent and a small company for $1 lakh. At that time, the president of the Western Union rejected the offer. He thought this price was a bit too high, and then a big company, IT&T, was born. Robert has been teaching professionally since 1924. One thing that he learned after teaching thousands of people was that all of them had potential, but every person has potential that can make us great. Despite this, what stops us is to have doubts about ourselves. After leaving school, we find out that only grades are not enough to move forward in life. Just like only smart people do not move forward, but those who are bold also move forward. It is true that to be a financial genius, you need to have knowledge of it, but you also need courage and boldness. Most people do not want to take any risk in the matter of money, but to be rich, you will have to take risks because it is possible that in the years, a new Bill Gates will be born or the next Alexander, and the rest will become poor. Now it is up to you. What do you want to be among them? If you increase your financial IQ, you can achieve a lot, and if not, the coming years can be even scarier because every old goes and a new one comes. So today is the happiest time. Today, people are feeling more financially because their thinking is still old. Then they will either blame their boss or the new technology, which was once an asset in the past, has become a liability today. So you need to stay updated. Robert designed a game called Kane's Flow. It teaches people how money works, what is the way to become rich, and how to get out of the right race. All these things have been tried to explain in this game. One day, a woman came and won a board card while playing the game, which meant that she won a board in that game. That woman was very happy, but when she found out that to get a vote, she would have to pay a large amount of tax, then her happiness disappeared. That vote became not an asset, but a liability for her. She found out that this vote would kill her. She did not understand this idea and asked for a refund. She got her money back and she left. But later she called and told her that now she understood the idea of the game. She was able to connect her life to that game. How does money work? Her anger was justified because she could not understand this. This is what we often do. We get angry at things that are beyond our understanding, and we start blaming it for every problem in life. But if you think with a cool head, then this method will be completely wrong. It would be better if we try to understand them, then we can win the game of life. Many people win a lot of money in the game of cash flow. Then they do not understand what to do with that money and they start getting surprised. This is because of their old thinking, which does not let them move forward, and then they lose all the money. Some people say that they lost because they did not have the right cards. Many people are in search of the right opportunities in life. Some people get the right opportunity, but they do not take advantage of it because they will say that they did not have money. Now, there are some people who got both money and opportunity, but they could not get anything because they did not understand that this is an opportunity. Financial intelligence means how creative you can be about money. If you get an opportunity, then what will you do without money? And if you have money but no opportunity, then what will you do in that situation? It all depends on your financial intelligence. Most people know only one solution, that is to work hard and earn a lot of money. But you have to learn how to create an opportunity for yourself and not sit and wait for it. The most important thing for the rich is that they know that money is not the real thing. The real thing is to know its true meaning and to know that we can make what we want with it. Our mind is the biggest asset for us. It can make us super rich or super poor, depending on how we use it. Those who are successful, if you want to walk with them, then you have to learn how to create the desire to make money in yourself. You need to invest your biggest asset, i.e. your mind. You have to be financially intelligent. So let's understand this. For example, in the 1990s, the financial situation of Arizona and Phoenix was bad. The people there were advised to save $100 every month. The idea of saving money for a bad time is somewhat true. But what is the use of that money that you keep saving? It is better to invest a part of it, which will benefit you in the future. Anyway, let's talk about the people of Arizona and Phoenix who were suffering financial hardship. In such a situation, this was a good opportunity for the investor. Many investors bought the property that they were selling for a quarter of the price. Robert also bought a $75,000 house for only $20,000. After that, he gave an ad in the office of Artoni that the $75,000 house was worth only $60,000. The customer was desperate to buy it. Robert's phone was not stopping ringing, that he was going to get this money from that asset which he had taken as a primary note from the customer. It took him only 5 hours to earn this money. The $40,000 he invented was created from his asset column, and without tax, he suddenly got it. Taking advantage of an opportunity, he created this money and added it to his income column. After a few years, his business created so much money that his company's car gas insurance, dinner trip with his client, and everything else was covered. By the time the government imposed tax on those expenses, most of these things had been spent in pre-tax expenses. The house that was sold for $60,000 after a few years was now worth $110,000. He still had some opportunities, but they were so few that Robert had to invest a valuable asset for him. He had to look for new opportunities. Now you ask yourself a question. It's a lot of work to work hard, pay 50% tax, and save the rest. Now that savings will give you 5% interest, and then you pay more tax on it. T would be better if you invest your money and time on your most powerful asset, i.e., your mind, and become financially intelligent. This world is never the same, which will not happen today or tomorrow. Sometimes it will be slow, sometimes it will be fast. With time, technology will get better. Today, the market is up. Tomorrow, it will be down. Especially the stock market changes every day. But what difference will it make to you? If you are financially intelligent, then you will be ready for any situation. You will get a lot of opportunities in life where you can take advantage of your financial intelligence. All you need is to cling to those opportunities. Usually we can see two types of investors. First, those who buy the package investment, and this is very easy and without hassle. Other investors create their own investments. You can also call them professionals. The more they invest, the more money they make. Now, if you want to become such an investor, then you need to understand these 3 skills. First, find such an opportunity that others cannot find. Remember that your mind can see what others cannot see. Second, increase your money. When you need money, the middle class only goes to the bank. But other types of investors increase their money to raise capital. They don't always need the bank. And third, organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with smarter people than themselves. That's why, before investing, choose your investment advisor. I know this is a little too much for you, but its rewards are great. There is a lot of risk in life, but you will be able to become rich only by learning to handle it. And with this comes the 6th lesson: work to learn, not for money. So once a journalist interviewed Robert. Robert had already read his article and was very impressed with the style of writing of that journalist. When the interview was over, the journalist told Robert that she wants to become a famous writer and become famous like him one day. So Robert asked her, what is it that is stopping her from becoming famous? In response to this question, the journalist said that her job is not moving forward. Robert suggested that the journalist should join a sales class. The journalist told her that one of her friends has already given her this offer, but she thinks it's a small job. She had forgotten that Robert had gone to a sales school himself. So the point is that if you have any talent because of which you want to make some money, then your talent will not be enough. Because how do you roast that talent until you don't know it? Your talent is useless. Until you learn the skill to present it in front of people, you can't earn anything. So it's not a shame to learn the art of selling. No salesman should be ashamed of it. The biggest difference was between the rich dad and the poor dad. The poor dad always worried about his job because a safe job was everything for him, while the rich dad always emphasized only and only on learning something. You have to learn a lot to become rich. If you look at the different aspects of it, the school rewards us. See an example of this for talent in just one thing. When you take a doctor's degree, then you do a doctorate in a special field, like pediatrics or something else. I mean, they have to study a lot on a small subject for talent in that field, and this is their reward. To know a lot like this, what you learn a little bit, that knowledge will only come when you work for different companies. You will go to different things in the world. How things work, you will experience all these things, then your knowledge will increase. Perhaps this was the reason that the rich dad used to take his younger brother, Robert and Mike, with him when they went to meet their doctor, accountant, lawyer, or any professional. When Robert left his happy-paying job, his poor but educated father could not understand why Robert left such a great job. He was deeply disappointed with this decision in the wrong way. Robert tried his best to make him understand why he had to do this, but he was not able to digest this. Robert told him that he wanted to learn how to fly in the open sky. He wanted to know how to handle the team of workers, how difficult it is to run any company on its own. Robert wanted to learn all this. After returning from Vietnam, Robert resigned from his job and joined the Xerox Corps. He did not want this job for any profit. He was so ashamed that he would sweat just by the thought of selling anything to anyone. To get rid of this shortcoming, he took a course in Xerox's sales training program. After this, Robert started his own company and sent his first shipment. If he had failed in this, it would have been Diwali, but he took this risk and remembered the lesson of his rich father that you can take the risk of Diwali before the age of 30 because you get a chance to recover at this age. Most employees pay their workers so much that they do not leave the job. And most workers also work hard so that they do not leave the job. That's why they only care about their salary and the benefits they get from the company. With this thought, some of his years go by well, but he does not work for a long time. So why don't you learn everything you want to learn now before you choose a special profession for yourself? Because once you have chosen your profession, you will be stuck in it forever. So friends, this is where the summary ends. Thank you. Meet again with next amazing audiobook. Please subscribe.